go again, and a shock today for all Chelsea fans. Bobby Tambling has told the club that he's considering giving up football for a full-time life as a Jehovah's Witness. He said today, "The more I learn about religion, the more I see the sense of it all, and for some while I've been interested in the movement through my wife, Kath. I'm aware of the growing physical state of football. I don't say it's getting dirtier, but it's getting harder not to retaliate, and it's not in me to kick a player, but too many are kicking and thinks it's enough to say sorry afterwards." Last week, of course, Peter Knowles of Wolves decided to leave football to become a full-time Jehovah's Witness. Bobby Tambling, Chelsea's record goal scorer, has already spoken to manager Dave Sexton, but adds that as yet he's not reached a firm decision. Our guests on the big match today are Francis Lee, Pat Jennings and Chelsea manager Dave Sexton. We shall again be bringing you action from 3 First Division games, leading off with Spurs against Manchester City, the match with the sting to its tail.
Corrigan, Pierce, trying a curler.
Then the goals from Newcastle against Derby County.
Robson now setting this one up. Trying to get it onto the right foot, get a shot in, there's the shot. And a nice attempt there by Bob Robson.
And Manchester United against Liverpool.
Tries one, and against the bar.
Also a complete slow-motion breakdown from Jimmy Hill to settle all the arguments and a look at your letters that might easily stir up a few more. Before we start the action, just to say welcome again to our regular big match viewers in Wales, the West Country and the Channel Islands, and to those from Southern Television who are with us for today's programme. But now let's get back to White Hart Lane yesterday, Spurs against Manchester City, the FA Cup holders. And a rare television view of the magnificent East Stand at White Hart Lane, now rapidly filling up with Spurs supporters eager for another look at this Tottenham team that has shot to 4th place in the First Division. And relieved, of course, to see in that team Alan Mullery. Remember that scare last week about his ankle injury. The Spurs will need him against this enterprising Manchester City team, a powerful team that includes England internationals Somerby, Bell and Lee, now made the more powerful by the return after injury of the tall, the elegant Neil Young, scorer of their cup-winning goal. Meanwhile, the crowd, the young and the not-so-young, 41,000 of them, wait with our cameras for referee Danny Lydon to start the game.
So Spurs in white, defending that goal to the left, get us away. And Alan Mullery, so relieved, I would think, to be back in action again. A long one through to Corrigan. Young Joe Corrigan, just 20 years old. Mullery again. Now Young. And Pat Jennings. Goes in. And looking for Pierce, but the whistle already gone. And certainly Manchester City have been something of a bogey side to Spurs over the years. They took 3 points out of 4 in the league last season. Tony Book. And of course they also knocked Spurs out of the cup. Now it's Knowles. And England, who'd gone up, but he's offside. The whistle just a little bit late in coming. And for some reason England pumps the ball over Corrigan's head. I can't think why. But in fact it is a free kick then to Manchester City. And Spurs racing forward, catching 4 Manchester City players offside. City themselves have said that they're coming here to carry the battle to Tottenham, to push them back into their own half as much as they can, looking for a good result. Now Pratt, it goes into Pratt. And John Pratt, such a great little fighter, as we saw last week against West Ham. A youngster who's prepared to work until he drops for Tottenham. Oakes now to Pardo. The last time Manchester City were in London, they won the FA Cup at Wembley. Doyle to Somerby, a man who made the solitary goal for Manchester City that day. Still Somerby. City delighted with his form so far this season. And now young Bowyer, 18 years of age, number 11. Pardo. Lee. And now to Doyle again, trying one just over. And I said, imagine that Jennings had that pretty well covered, but Doyle, who's been playing so much at the back for Manchester City, showing that he's really got quite a powerful shot on him as well. Book then with the throw for Manchester City. Lee trying to take it away from England, doing beautifully too. Oh, a nice little 1-2 there with Bowyer, now finding Neil Young. Good shot and a magnificent save by Jennings. Really sparkling football though by Manchester City. With Lee and the flick by Bowyer and the positioning of Young. And superb saving by Pat Jennings, who now has big Tommy Booth there just ahead of him. It's come out to Pardo, and now to Oakes. Young, pumping it back again, England away this time. Tony Book. Somerby trying to lay it into the path of Lee. City going well at the moment, and it's Pardo. And Tottenham's ball given. Now Mullery. Jimmy Greaves, number 8, with the throw. To Peter Collins. To John Pratt. You'll see to pick it on for Greaves. Oh, a weak one there from Greaves. Put through beautifully by Gilzine. Most unlike Greaves. And now Bell. Pulled from behind by Pratt. Although Pratt raised his arms in innocence, that really was nothing more than a free kick to Manchester City, and it had to be. Pulling Bell back. The Spurs wall lining up. Lee! Scored 3 goals this season, Lee. Only 1 for Manchester City in the league from a penalty, 1 in the League Cup, and then 1 for the Football League on Wednesday at Barnsley. Bell. And Collins getting there before Bowyer. Morgan. Good pass there to Pratt. Good positioning by him. To Pearce. Flicking it straight in. Morgan going in. No! Disallowed. Disallowed. Poor offside against Roger Morgan. And no doubt that's one that we shall have to look at a little later on. But he looked offside. Gilzine. And Young. Rather wildly, that one. And certainly the pressure's been on Manchester City these last few minutes. Mr. Lydon wants the throw taken again. No, he's given a free kick, in fact. Knowles with it. Gilzine going for it, and Doyle. Young to Somerby. And now it's Oakes. To Young, to Summerby. Lee. Looking for it on his left foot, trying a little 1-2 there in very, very tight situation. And Morgan and Lee not happy with the way they were playing each other then. And particularly Lee, I think, with the way that Morgan was playing him in that tight situation. Greaves away, but Pardo tidying. Pearce to Pratt. Pratt's going to get into trouble here. Book going in and Oakes going in. So it's a free kick to Tottenham. Cyril Knowles. Pearce to pump it back to Gilzean, a little flick for Greaves. No! Offside! Offside again! Offside, but what a magnificent piece of shooting by this man Greaves. But given offside. So that's 2 disallowed goals for Spurs. Bale a long one back. Was in fact handball given against Mike England. Crowd very unhappy with that disallowed goal by their great favourite Jimmy Greaves. Another one that we shall have to look at, no doubt. And now Morgan away again. Greaves on the break. And Book is hurling himself across the penalty area. Good piece of defensive covering by Tony Book. Now Bowyer. Gilzean, another of those little flicks inside, and Oakes cleverly back to his goalkeeper. Summerby. Bell making a run with him. And a good piece of timing there by Knowles. A throw to Manchester City. There's Summerby. Bell to take it. Lee making a break towards him. Trying to get away from England. Summerby. And a corner given. Booth again going up for Manchester City. 3 young players of immense province in this Manchester City side. Corrigan the goalkeeper, Booth the number 5, and Bowyer up in the attack. The backbone of the side for some years to come, no doubt. Here comes the corner. And it's Collins away and unfairly challenged by Bowyer. He got his head to it well though, Collins, under great pressure. Now in injury time at the end of this first half. Now Mallory making the break. Pressed it down well by Doyle. Greaves taken by Book and a free kick given, I think. No, it's just a throw. Greaves again, flicking it through for Gilzean, ready for the return pass, on for Morgan, is shaved too hard. So it's Lee, playing it deep. Beautiful control though by Lee, A good run by him. Now coming to Young. Going past Mallory. And now for Bell. Can he flick it back? He does to Bowyer! It's there by Bowyer! Ian Bowyer, goal number 6 of the season for him. 1-0 ahead for Manchester City. "18 years old. And a little bit about against the run of the play, and also, of course, with Spurs no doubt feeling a little bit hard done by with 2 disallowed, although I confess that they both looked offside. So City go ahead. Collins now to Pratt. Mallory. Mallory going on. Greaves trying to get to it. And there goes the whistle for half-time, in fact, with Manchester City snatching that lead almost on half-time by this man, Ian Bowyer. But, of course, Jimmy Greaves had a goal disallowed for Spurs, so too did Roger Morgan. Still to come in the big match programme today, highlights of Manchester United against Liverpool, Newcastle against Derby, but the half-time score here at White Hart Lane is Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. We shall be back in just a couple of moments. So Manchester City then, their shirts are red and black stripes, kicking off for the second half with that goal lead, defending the goal now to our left. One little statistical point is that Spurs have conceded 6 goals here at White Hart Lane this season, all of them in the goal where Manchester City scored that one just before half-time at the Park Lane end. So Spurs no doubt happy to get away from there. And now they've got a throw which John Pratt is going to take forward. And the referee, in fact, having a word with the policeman at the kick-off. 1 or 2 things were thrown onto the pitch towards Mike Summerby. And he's just asked the policeman to watch that the crowd don't throw anything else on. Tommy Booth, number 5. Lee, and it's coming through now for Summerby. Oh, that was a very good shot and well covered by Jennings. Booth getting in well, but Bell waiting for it, and it was Pratt in now, finding Greaves, getting in his shot. That was a very good bit of play by Greaves, because he was under tremendous pressure from Doyle, but still got in his shot. Gilzine outnumbered, but going on. And again, the punching power of this man, and Pearce! Almost there! What an enterprising bit of work, though, by Jimmy Pearce. That overhead kick by Pearce with Corrigan so far out of his goal. And it couldn't have been more than 1.5 yards wide. Bowyer to Young. Lee pleading for the ball and now getting it. And the referee, in fact, has stopped the play, having a word with Morgan. And I suppose Manchester City feeling that it was a pity he didn't let Lee go on. But it's a free kick then to Manchester City. A knot of players at the far post now breaking towards the near one. Bowyer's going in. Bell is there. The linesman is flagging. Pearce caught offside. Vin Pardo first played for Manchester City as a 15-year-old. So he really has grown up with his club, as indeed have several others in this side. No nonsense about that clearance from Pratt. Now Morgan. Well, this is Book. Lee found a bit of room for himself on the right. Prepared to take on England. And England timing his tackle well, but it's still Lee. And Somerby, magnificent save by Jennings. What a save! Gilzean having his shirt pulled by Booth, but still finding Pearce. Laying it inside for Mallory. Losing grip of it, though. And Pratt in very quickly for Tottenham. He really is taking his chances in this Tottenham side now, John Pratt. And certainly it must be good for all Tottenham youngsters to see that men are being encouraged to come through from the junior sides, as indeed John Pratt has. And Pearce as well, of course. Bell. Beaten by Pratt. Greaves. Gilzean is off. And now surrounded by red and black shirts. Mallory. Bowyer to Oakes. And now to Young. Oakes again. Pearce. Greaves calling for it on the right. Morgan as well, who's got through a lot of good work for Spurs. Beale is sprinting into a position to take a pass as well, but Oakes. And a throw to Manchester City. Something like 25 minutes to go. Manchester City still leading by this golden ill scored by Bowyer just before half-time. Beale and Corrigan. Morgan. Now Lee. Pulled back by Morgan. Plenty of Manchester City players up now, though. Oakes springing very quickly and efficiently from defence into attack, Manchester City. And now it's Young onto that left foot. Oh, against the post! Well, you can see why they say that they've missed this man since the start of the season when he was injured. He really has presented a bigger threat than anybody else to Spurs this afternoon. Somerby. And Somerby, in fact, kicking at Knowles, giving away the free kick. Ball in fact bouncing against England's hands. It wasn't intentional, so the referees let it go on. Morgan. Oakes. Pardo to Neil Young. Trying a 1-2 with Bowyer, but Bowyer misreading it, and Beale putting it away. Glyn Pardo with the throw for Manchester City. Lee, beautiful control, getting himself into a shooting position. Oh, a great save again by Jennings. He really has pulled some out this afternoon, Jennings. England well up, flicking it on, almost getting it through to Gilzean too. Young to Lee. Good break here by Manchester City out of defence. Young, Bella's gone storming up into the box as well. Pardo, Summerby, and Pearce taking advantage of that one very well. Reeves outside him, Gilzean on his left, here's Gilzean. And Jimmy Greaves on the far side there with his arms up in frustration. Free on the edge of the penalty area, and the ball never came. Pearce in a little bit of pain, but all right again. The trainer being told to go away. And certainly if Gilzean had played that ball a fraction faster, an unmarked Greaves might have been a great embarrassment to Manchester City. And now it's Greaves then with the free kick. Curling it towards Mallory. And Spurs getting a corner. And now with a quarter of an hour to go, they've got to the point where every man has got to be pushed forward, of course. England and Collins well up. Here comes the corner. Looking for Collins and England between them. England getting to it! Certainly Corrigan was very late seeing that one from England. Summerby and Bell. He's got Bowyer and Lee in the middle. Back for Bowyer. Bell again. Still not there. Pratt with a throw. To Jennings, almost over Jennings' head. Oh, straight to Summerby, a bad kick by Pat Jennings. Lee making the burst, and by accident sending Lee away. Just over. A fiercely contested game, and certainly there's no lack of goal-mouth incidents. And in fact, the Spurs substitute is coming on. Martin Chivers coming on. At least he's taking off his tracksuit now. It's really a question as to who is coming off. So John Pratt is going off, who really has played well. No question of that, and he's getting a good ovation from this crowd as he deserves. He's marked Colin Bell superbly and got through a tremendous amount of work. John Pratt, but now it's Chivers on. Obviously Spurs realise that they've got to throw as much firepower now into this game as they possibly can. And they've got £125,000 worth of it, of course, with Martin Chivers. Boo, or rather Doyle. Oakes to Bell. And now Young. A flick in there for Bell. Magnificent goal by Colin Bell. Beautifully taken, that little dipping centre into the near post. Bell was there a foot before any Spurs defender, and that surely wraps it up. That's it, with little more than a minute to go now. And Manchester City absolutely safe. And of course a very good result for them to take with them to Spain next Wednesday for that Cup Winners' Cup match against Bilbao. Gilzine right up. So right at the end of the first half they score, right at the end of the second half also. And he's offside, Pearce. Morgan. Gilzine, but playing it straight to Oakes, going in there clumsily. On Alan Oakes, this tremendous midfield player for Manchester City. Lee, and here's Oakes again. And another one! Alan Oakes! No wonder he looks pleased. His second goal of the season for City. 2 goals right at the end, and a scoreline now which really doesn't do justice to Tottenham. Alan Oakes, 3-0 now for Manchester City. And now Philip Beale. And Spurs now, with so little time, a matter of seconds left, utterly crushed. And Young, in fact, kicking the ball right down into the tunnel. Chivers trying a long throw. Gilzine trying to get under it. Flicking it in almost for Greaves. Almost there. City now absolutely rampant as Alan Oakes takes it up again for them. Pardo, everybody coming forward. Lee now getting it onto his right foot. Only saved in the nick of time by Jennings. Some devastating football by Manchester City in this last quarter of an hour, but now it's Jimmy Greaves. That's so heavily outnumbered. And there's a man, and 2 men in fact, Joe Mercer and Malcolm Allison, thoroughly enjoying this one. And indeed, safely 2 points for Manchester City into the bag with this victory at White Hart Lane. There's the man who got the first one, Bowyer. Colin Bell it was who added the second one. And Alan Oakes who added the third. Those two, number 6 going into the tunnel there, Alan Oakes, with that final crushing goal right at the end. So a final score that I must say doesn't really do justice to a lot of good football from Tottenham, but some scintillating stuff at times from Manchester City. The final score, Spurs 0, Manchester City 3.
So defeat for Spurs then, and afterwards the Spurs manager Bill Nicholson agreed that Manchester City were the better side. I would have said for the last 15 minutes they were much the better side. Jimmy Hill, what do you think was wrong with Spurs yesterday?
Well, the simple facts are that Manchester City positively had more players of skill and aggression in that game, and I would think for a few weeks to come too. They looked a very good side yesterday. Spurs were good in patches, but bad in other parts of their game. But it wasn't as easily decided as that. In fact, if Jimmy Greaves, the greatest chance taker in the world, had taken this chance that was created by Gilzine when they were playing very well, there he is. A perfectly good open goal, and I reckon every viewer would think that they could put that in, but it just shows a difficult
And
game
not so long
football is.
after this, of course, Jimmy, they had 2 disallowed goals, and the Spurs fans were a little bit angry about this, although at the time my feeling was that they were both offside. Did you feel this also?
Yes, I don't think there was a great schmozzle. I think deep down, although they protested, because it was one of the things they could do, they realised that the goals were in fact offside. Just look at the first one. There's a lovely first-time ball from Pearce, and as it comes over and we stop the camera there, you can see that number 3 has not quite caught up with Jimmy Greaves, who's to the left of him, who is in an offside position. Roger Morgan, who runs in from the right of him and scores, was in an onside position at the moment the ball was played. But Jimmy Greaves unquestionably was offside.
And do you feel also that Jimmy Greaves was offside for the second goal?
Yes, this was a great tragedy. I wish he hadn't been, because it was such a beautiful goal, a real gem, one of Greaves' classics. Hit on the volley as he was falling, but without any doubt at all, he was offside, and you can see the fullback appealing for it as it happens. There's the ball. Manchester City don't get it away too well here. They're heading it, but not with enough power. Then Roger Morgan flicks it through beautifully to Gilsey. Look at that lovely side foot flick, and there's Greaves. And you can see the arm of the defender to the left of your picture up in the air, Greaves falling, but what a volley it is as it goes in the back of the net.
In fact, all through this first half, Spurs were putting a good deal of pressure on Manchester City. And I thought, if anything, it was against the run of the play when Manchester City got that first goal right on half-time by Bowyer.
Yes, they'd had a beautiful move, Spurs. 7 or 8 men passing move, ending in a shot, and they hadn't scored. And on my watch, it was the 47th minute when Manchester City broke away from that move and got the goal. And it was this man, Francis Lee. There we see one of the most expensive pair of legs in the country, dribbling up the field. And he makes a bad decision here, I think. He tries a shot which doesn't work. Then Manchester City were lucky. It broke to Young, skillfully beats Mullery, lays it perfectly for Bell, and just watch the class of this player. He doesn't only run, as he puts that ball right on the button for Youngie and Bowyer to power it into the net with his head. Terrific goal.
He looks such a clumsy youngster, this Bowyer, doesn't he? 18 years old, but he's so difficult to shake off a ball, Jim.
He is. He's got a lot to learn about the game, but he's paying for his keep by scoring goals while he's learning it. But I think Spurs could do with someone of his kind of aggressive nature up front, a Bobby Smith, if you like. All their players, Chivers, Gilsey and Greaves, are players of class up front and skill, but they want somebody who's prepared to chase any kind of ball and upset the defence all the time.
Chasing a ball like Colin Bell, for example, who now gets this second Manchester City goal.
Yes, this was a beautiful goal. Superb passing movement, but I think we can reveal today that it wasn't a goal by Bell, but was an own goal by Philip Beale. Here's Neil Young, just crossing the ball. Now there goes Bell on the near post, running like mad, and deflects it. Now the ball is stopped there between Bell's head and Beale's head. Now I think at that moment, I thought yesterday that Beale got a touch and pushed it to the right of Jennings, who was expecting the ball to his left-hand side once Bell had deflected it. Now what I'd like to do is to look at that again, because I don't think it really showed up in that from our camera behind the goal, and I think then we can clearly show that without any doubt it was an own goal by Philip Beale and not a brilliant goal by Bell, although I must say it was brilliantly conceived. Here it is, the other view then. Watch the cross, and you'll notice that the ball is going from the right to the left of the screen. The direction of the ball all the while. There's the flick by Bell, and it's still going from right to left. Now watch how the direction changes. Now it's coming towards us to Jennings' right. And I think, I'm sorry, Philip Beale, on that, but I think you will agree that it was an own goal.
And in fact, things were going very badly for Spurs at this time, Jimmy. Mike England had gone forward instead of staying back. I mean, they were weak at the back at this point. Bill Nicholson, in fact, was annoyed that he'd gone forward. He said that he'd told him to stay back and mark Lee. Now, how did you feel about this?
Well, it isn't as easy as most people imagine to get messages onto the field. The players are a long way away, there's a lot of noise, and it was quite a problem at Coventry. In the end, we had a telephone down to the line. You still can't get the right message over. And I've spoken to Mike England this morning, and he didn't get that message on the field, without any doubt at all. And he was up trying to get an equaliser, along with Martin Chivers, who'd come on, at the moment that Alan Oakes came through and scored a very good goal. He's got such stamina. There he is. He pushes the ball up. Even at this stage of the game, he's wanting it back, gets it inside from Francis Lee, runs on, and hammers it past Jennings. He's a much underrated player, I think, Alan Oakes. He's got the guts and the running power. He's always there when he's wanted, always ready to push on. We can have a chance now to look at a tired Spurs defence, without Mike England, who was up the field, trying desperately to mark the extra men that were powering through to make the score 3-0 and make it look an even worse defeat for Spurs than it actually was. Here it is, there's Oakes pushing it forward, lovely flick sideways with the outside of his foot from Francis Lee, right in his path, and there, whacks it past Jennings into the country. An unhappy goal for Spurs, but a lovely one for Manchester City.
Now, you've already spoken this afternoon about the wonderful skills of this man, Francis Lee. And I know you sort of had a personal watching brief on Lee yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I spoke to Joe Mercer at the end of the game yesterday, and he told me that that was Francis Lee's best game of the season. I wonder whether Francis agreed with him, so I asked him afterwards.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you win 3-0 away from home and play as well as we have, you know, you cannot expect much better.
I'm thinking of your game particularly. You had a hand in all 3 goals today.
Yeah, I haven't scored many this season. I think I've scored 1 a penalty and 1 in the League Cup, but it doesn't matter who gets them, really.
No, but you were making them from others.
Well, you don't... You set out to make them, but they were just... I didn't really make them. They just came from moves that I was involved in.
You've been complaining this week that the First Division, the marking is much tighter on you, particularly since you made
I haven't been
such a
complaining
reputation.
about anything. Somebody's written something in the paper, but I'm not complaining about it because I'm not playing as well as I was last season. This is no excuse because people are marking me tighter.
Apart from skill today, I thought you were very aggressive in fighting for the ball. Do you think you're more aggressive now than when you played for Bolton? City have brought something extra out of you?
I think you've got to be aggressive in the First Division now with this tighter marking, because if you let them push you around, you just go out of the game.
Which do you think was the best goal today? Of the 3?
I thought Alan Oakes' was a good goal, the last one, but also Colin Bell's was a good one. I thought the 3 good ones.
Is anything Manchester City does wrong?
Pardon?
Anything Manchester City does wrong in your estimation?
Well, this season we've been giving goals away in the first 5 minutes. I think about 4 or 5 games they've scored well inside 5 minutes. We've been 1 down and we've come back to draw the matches. In some cases, 2 we've lost, but I think we're coming to now. I think we'll do well.
Let's hope you get that right for Europe. A wonderful performance today, and from the big match, win something in Europe for us this year.
Thanks very much, Jim. Thank you.
Well, there's an understandably very happy Francis Lee at the end of the game yesterday. We thought so much of his performance in that game that we have put together some pieces of what he did, his performance through the whole of the 90 minutes. And this, apart from the things that he did to create the goals. Here's a typical move building up, whole of Manchester City's side powering forward, and Lee picks it up here. Watch the way he moves, flicks it across. Roger Morgan tries to prevent him, but he hates anybody getting between him and the goal. He just controls himself there at that, doesn't lose his temper completely, but it illustrates that where he sees nothing else but his opponent's goal when he's playing. Here, just watch, it isn't his ball, but he forces Collins to give a corner away. So many forwards of skill would have left the defender to pass it back to the goalkeeper unhampered. Now just watch his skill as he picks up this ball, dummies beautifully, moves from right to left, unusually, and whacks the ball with his left foot over the bar, proving that his left foot is just not the stand on. Watch that lovely control there, perfectly done, and eyes in the back of his head, he slips it to Neil Young as he comes rushing through and makes that beautiful chance for him. And now, as he picks the ball up on the right wing, aiming only for the goal, and I think our cameraman should get an award for the shot of the year with that particular one, but it's Lee's persistence that also takes one's eye here. Just look at the way he won't give up, gets it back from England and makes that perfect chance for Summerby, which only Jennings' brilliant anticipation prevents from going in the goal. Now just watch this dummy from the throw-in. Beautiful control, rolled off the sole of his foot, and the power of that shot. Jennings must have got that with all the force behind it into his chest. And now there's somebody running off on the right wing, making the space, the unselfish running that all the Manchester City players do. Here it comes across the field, late stages of the game, but Francis Lee has got something left for the opposition. And it's another fine shot which Jennings gathers at the second attempt.
Jimmy Hill there on Francis Lee. I think the message is pretty clear. If Francis is playing around your way, do yourself a favour, go out and have a look at him. A difficult week coming up for Spurs. On Tuesday night they play at Arsenal. Next Saturday they play at Derby against their old favourite Dave Mackay. We in fact pick up Derby's progress, in fact with the goal that took them to the top of the First Division yesterday. Newcastle United against Derby County. Your commentator Jeff Thomas, the pictures come from Tyne Tees. Newcastle in stripes.
This indeed is disappointing for this good crowd under these wet conditions here at St James Park. Robson again. Smith picking that one up. Now Carlin. And that was Tommy Gibb helping him on his way. Robson now setting this one up. Trying to get it onto the right foot, get a shot in, there's the shot. And a nice attempt there by Pop Robson. Govan again. Durban, or rather Hinton. And Craggs it was coming in. John Craggs, number 2. Free kick to Derby. And they set it up once more for Dave Mackay. Comes up, sets it up. Newcastle's got everybody back. Chips it up, Davies back there, and a great goal there from McFarlane. McFarlane saw that one all the way and had no trouble there in beating McFall. Set up by Mackay, McFarlane running onto the ball and headed it right into the corner of the net. A nice goal there by Roy McFarlane for Derby. So now it's Kevin Hector. Carlin. Busy little worker. Clark with him. Nice bit of play, Hector. Derby almost stopping to a walk. McFarlane coming up. No one going forward into the box. Obviously trying to work that ball in. McFarlane again has a shot, and a magnificent shot there from Roy McFarlane, which really had Ian McFall stretching.
Roy McFarlane there, he's what, 21? What a future, and indeed what a threat for Spurs next Saturday. Well, it's at this point that we say goodbye to all our viewers on Southern Television. For those of us who remain, let's have a look at one or two of your letters. And you may remember that incredible shot by Peter Lorimer of Leeds that we showed you last week that knocked Alex Stepney into the back of the Manchester United goal. Victor Wilson of Yeovil in Somerset called Lorimer's shot a phantasmagorical shot. Well, Mr. Wilson, let's have a look again at that phantasmagorical shot of Peter Lorimer's.
Giles. Lorimer. Lorimer one from 40 yards. Oh, what a beauty! It knocked Stepney into the net.
Well, who, I wondered last week, had a harder shot than that? You were quick to tell me who you thought this week. Bobby Charlton, of course, had his many supporters, among them Keith Tidy of Bexhill, Martin Selby of Leigh-on-Sea in Essex, and 9-year-old David Chesterman of Hendon. He calls it a supersonic left-foot shot. John Hollins of Chelsea said Keith Peacock and Stephen Gills, they're both aged 11, and they come from Camberley. Colin Taylor of Crystal Palace said B.W. Sylvester, he comes from Harlington. John Samuels of Arsenal claimed Arsenal fan Sue Palin of Hendon. Ian Moore of Nottingham Forest, he gets the vote of Stephen Dillon of Epsom. A Norwegian international, Rolf Pedersen, says Chris Dwyer of Borden in Hampshire. I can't confess that I've never seen Mr. Pedersen in action. And from Carol Mitchell of Margate, a vote for the Southern League clubs, Brian Clifton. I like this note at the bottom of her letter. She says, it takes a good goalkeeper to see his shots, let alone stop them. Well, we've gone, in fact, to a very good goalkeeper indeed to get his vote on hot shots in the First Division. We've gone, in fact, to Pat Jennings.
Well, I think, Brian, there's a lot of players in the First Division. Every team have got forwards who are fantastic strikers of the ball.
And you had plenty to face this weekend against Manchester City, didn't you?
Yeah, with Young and Lee, they're two very good strikers of the ball.
Now, if you had to level it down to 3 players then, with a real bang on them, which would they be?
Well, I think perhaps Lorimer of Leeds, Martin Chivers of Tottenham, and Bobby Charlton.
Pat, thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Jennings then a dead heat between 3. The other pointed issue this week has been that disallowed Chelsea goal against Manchester City at Main Road last weekend. You may remember that Houseman pushed the ball across for Chelsea. Here it comes now. The goal eventually was disallowed. We thought last weekend because Hutchinson had impeded Corrigan here before Osgood puts the ball into the net. John Douglas of Stratford believes we were right, so too does Malcolm Allison. But in fact, P. Burnell of Bristol and Terry Foster of Oxford, they both point out that when Osgood had made his shot, Hutchinson had fallen into an offside position. What, we wondered, did Chelsea manager Dave Sexton think about it?
The official reason given to us after the match was that it was disallowed for Ian Hutchinson being offside. And in actual fact, Peter Osgood's shot was deflected by Ian Hutchinson before it went into the net.
So Dave Sexton, and in fact that goal was disallowed officially because Ian Hutchinson had gone offside. Chelsea getting none of the luck these days. Our last match today, or at least the last bit of action from a match today, we go to Old Trafford for Manchester United against Liverpool. The commentator up there is Gerald Sinstadt. The pictures are from Granada Television, and Liverpool, not in their red shirts this time, but in white.
To Hughes. Thompson. Liverpool tightening the screw now that they've got United pinned back. Stepney's fingertips. St John. Stepney again. Just catches. George Best 6 inches higher than Ron Yates than that. And Morgan! Number 1! Willie Morgan, put away by Georgie Best's header.
So defeat for Liverpool, their first of the season, and United, it seems, swinging back into a little bit of form. That's all from the big match today. Hope you've had a bit of fun with us during the last hour. Our last bit of action, in fact, for that we go back to White Hart Lane for one occasion when the ball didn't go into the Tottenham net. But what you've got to watch out for now, again, these fantastic skills of Francis Lee, the shooting of Neil Young, and a marvellous save by Pat Jennings.
For Manchester City. Lee trying to take it away from England, doing beautifully too. Oh, a nice little 1-2 there with Bowyer, now finding Neil Young. Good shot and a magnificent save by Jennings.